Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for stopping by. I have previously demonstrated that existing in nature is a system of timekeeping, a calendar if you will, which features among other things a year that is 364 days in length. The description which I provided of that calendar or timekeeping system lacked one thing that is common to calendars across the world since time immemorial. It lacked a unit of time which is longer than a week but shorter than a year. The length of a month in those other calendars is almost invariably a few days longer or a few days shorter than the number of days which it takes the moon to go through one cycle of its phases. The period that the moon takes to go through one cycle of its phases is technically referred to as a lunation. This suggests that the moon might be the inspiration behind the unit of time called a month. And therefore, when seeking to find the number of days in a month for a year that is 364 days in length, it makes sense to examine the behavior of the moon, especially as it might relate to a year that is 364 days in length. And that is exactly what this video is going to be about. I will share with you what I have found regarding the behavior of the moon and how it is related to a year that is 364 days in length, because in fact it is related. So the first thing in doing so is a small exercise for you, again, if you don't mind, to go to the internet and find the number of days in a lunation to the highest precision that you can find it. You will find that the number of days in a lunation is somewhere around 29.5 something days. It is cumbersome to take the number of days in a lunation as equal to the number of days in a month because there is a fraction of a day in that number. As I had mentioned before, what works best for human beings is to select a basic unit of time, which in our case is a day, and then give names or designate higher units which are always a whole number multiple of the basic unit. So we would expect that the month perhaps should have 30 days or maybe 29 days, but not some number and a fraction. But this raises the question, but there's still another complication. The total number of lunations that fit into a 364-day year is bigger than 12 but smaller than 13. Again, that creates another fractional unit which makes it difficult to use the number of days in a lunation as equal to the number of days in a month. But what it does raise, the question which it does raise is, what is the smallest whole number of days into which you can fit a whole number of lunations? That math is something you can do for yourself. I have done it myself, and I'll just share with you what I have found so you can test if that is accurate based on the number of days in a lunation which you found during your search of the internet. So what I did find is that 1,749 lunations fit exactly into 51,649 days. So what that means practically, the practical implication of that is this: that if on a certain day, for example, you see the full moon at maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, then the next time you will see a full moon at 10 o'clock in the morning from the same location is going to be 51,649 days later. In other words, the same face of the moon is seen at the same time of day every 51,649 days. But 51,649 days is not an exact multiple of 364 days. So the next step, therefore, is to find out if perhaps there might be a number which is a whole number multiple of both 364 and 51,649. Because if there's such a number, then it would mean that into that number you can fit a whole number of lunations as well as a whole number of years. And that's really what we were looking for. Let us, for convenience, designate the period of time that is 51,649 days. Let's designate that as a lunation cycle. So what we are looking for is the smallest whole number into which you can fit 364 without a remainder, as well as a whole number of lunations. I have done that math as well, and what I did find is that, and which was a bit of a surprise, I didn't kind of expect such a small number, but what I did find is that into 1,446,172 you can fit exactly 28 lunation cycles, as well as 3,973 years, each having 364 days. So what that means is that if you see a particular phase of the moon at the start of the year that is 364 days in length at a particular time, then you will see the same phase of the moon at the same time at the start of the year after 1,446,172 days. Or you will see the same phase of the moon at the same time of day on the same date in the year, in the calendar, every 1,446,172 days. This is the relationship that exists naturally between a year that is 364 days in length and the cycle of phases of the moon. Now, this does not really give us a way to allocate months or to allocate days to the months in a calendar that is 364 days in length. But what it does do for us is to establish a relationship between the cycles of the moon and the 364 days or the year. And I will show you in a subsequent video how you can use that information, because I have used it, to establish, believe it or not, to establish the exact date on which, if the world was indeed created as the Bible says it was, then I will show you exactly what date that event occurred. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.